Hey everybody, welcome back to Gamnesia After Dark. It's been a while again since the last one, but holidays and whatnot. But speaking of which, I hope everyone had some great holidays. I know I did, and I hope our lovely guests did as well, if you guys would like to introduce yourselves.
Yeah, sure. I'm Ben Lamoureux. I'm the editor-in-chief of Gamnesia, which is a, fancy way of saying I write a lot of stuff and appear on podcasts.
And I'm Will Marsh. I'm a copy editor and Twitter guy at Gamnesia, and very occasional writer.
And to answer your question, my holiday went, pretty well, and just nothing too fancy. Just spent time with family. The grandparents. I've got a couple young nieces, so it's nice to get them presents and everything. Although I had the worst time trying to get my one niece a birthday present. She's a big Overwatch fan. And so she plays it on her mom and dad's computers, but she finally got her own PC. My brother built her one. And so I wanted to just gift her Overwatch, just through Blizzard's store or whatever. It's a week-long process, apparently. So I could rant about this for hours, but Blizzard is just they have the worst service ever when it comes to gifting people things. So needless to say, she did not get it on Christmas Day.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. Maybe next time just Venmo them the money.
Yeah, I'm just gonna have to do that. It won't be as bad now, because part of it was that they wouldn't let me gift it to her until we had been friends for longer than 72 hours. So
What?
Yeah, I guess I don't know if they thought that make a fake account and put someone's credit card in for him. I don't know how that works exactly, but apparently it's a security concern. And then, after you gift it to them, they have to wait another 72 hours before they can download it for some reason.
Oh man, that just makes my head hurt thinking about it.
Yeah, it made my head hurt doing it. But other than that, it was a pretty good holiday.
How was yours, Will?
Pretty good. Good family time, just seclusion, stuff like that. I don't get as many games for holidays as an adult as I used to, but it was, a good chance to put a dent in the ever-growing backlog.
What were you playing over the holiday?
So I did get, from my sister, I got the Bayonetta 2-pack for Switch, which I had yet to play aside from the old Wii U demo, and I'm still enjoying those so far. Mm-hmm. Little ways into Bayo 2 now.
Okay. Yeah, I never... I've toyed with picking those up a few times, and I just never pulled the trigger. But it's one of those things where maybe if there's a month or two where Switch has a dry spell, I'll go back and get it if it's cheaper or something.
Yeah, sure. It's fun for what it is. Solid beat 'em up. I'm still pretty bad at her in Smash, but yeah, maybe I'll fix that someday.
It's a platinum game. You know what you're getting.
Yeah, you're getting a big banhammer is what you're getting. Well, I think my holiday was pretty great. I got to go visit my dad, which was really awesome because I get to see him maybe twice a year if I'm lucky. I haven't actually been down there to visit over the holidays in 5 years.
Oh, wow.
And so, that trip was actually, I say over the holidays, but I wound up flying out on Christmas Day to go to Chicago for the Final Fantasy concert. So I didn't even really get to spend quote unquote the actual day with them because I flew out the morning of the 25th.
Gotcha.
Oh, but that was a nightmare flying on Christmas.
Surprisingly not.
No?
I mean, I think all the traffic seemed to have been a couple days before and a couple days after, but flying on Christmas Day itself wasn't actually that bad at all.
Oh, that's good.
Now, the return trip was a different story, but that was because of weather, and it was the first time I spent the night in the airport. And always something I wanted to do, never want to do it again.
Yeah, it's not fun.
That does make sense, though. I can't comment on flying on Christmas, but on the occasions that I've had to do road trips on Christmas Day, it tends to be a little better than, say, the 24th or the 26th.
But other than that, got to get a little gaming in myself. Went back and started my third playthrough of Persona 4 Golden. Because, of course, I'm about 170, 180 hours in.
Now, is that one of the ones where, you're really encouraged to replay because you unlock different endings, or...?
Yeah, it does have multiple endings. Primarily, I think the big draw to playing it again from a gameplay perspective is that it has New Game Plus. So all of your character stats carry over.
Mhm.
So in the process of playing, you can increase like 5 different traits, like your knowledge and your courage and your diligence and that sort of thing. And so all that carries over, which makes it a lot lighter on your schedule. Because when you're not in the dungeons, you're doing all the social stuff, and some of it has a very, very strict timeline. Like, if you don't do this thing on this day, like, it's going to throw your whole plan off.
Right.
And so this, having all those already increased, means you don't have to worry about it, and you can spend that time doing other things, whether it's just grinding or doing other social things.
All right, that makes a lot of sense.
And then there are some, like, in order to get, like, this one persona, I think you have to have gone through the game once, and there's some stuff. It's been a while since I finished my second one, so I don't remember all the details, but this one, for me, was just purely a pleasure. Like, it's one of my favorite games of all time. Like, I can sit down and just play it forever if I wanted to. And it's really nice to get back to it. Plus, I'm trying to get all the trophies, and I'm only a couple away now.
Okay.
So, very excited for that.
Yeah, that is a series I still know very little about, but I guess we'll see if Persona 5 comes to Switch, even though I have a PS4 also.
Yeah, if there's a possibility of a game getting ported to Switch, it's always like, might as well hold off for the Switch version.
That's precisely what I did every time Resident Evil 4 was on sale for PS4,
Yeah.
So yeah, that worked out.
Good call.
And I guess the other one I started was I picked up a Super Nintendo Classic.
Oh, nice.
And I
Sweet.
started playing through Final Fantasy VI for the first time.
Okay.
A lot of people say that's like one of the best ones. And I'm not very far into it, so I'm not quite ready to make that conclusion yet. But it's been pretty solid so far. And I'm ready to suplex that train.
Yeah, I've often seen it said that it's the best of like the classic Final Fantasies, and I've given it a shot a couple times, and I like the look to it and everything, but like all 2 or 3 times that I've tried, I've made it like an hour or 2 in, and I've just like gotten tired of mashing through text. So it's been a few
Yeah.
years since I've given it a shot, but I remember just not quite being hooked by it when I gave it a try, but. I'm sure it's, like a lot of the Final Fantasy games. It's like, yeah, you get slog through the intro a bit and then it gets good.
Yeah, I've had my SNES Classic since launch. Haven't tried that game yet, because I can be pretty particular about RPGs in that I seem to just like a handful of JRPGs every now and then,
Yeah,
like
same.
the Mario stuff. I did really enjoy Octopath Traveler this past year, though. Haven't done the post-game yet, but I had fun with that while I was playing it, which was like nearly 100 hours.
Yeah, and that team's getting, bigger and working on more projects too, so hopefully if you like that, you'll kind of like everything else they got coming down the pipeline.
And for Switch specifically, I think, so I'm
Yeah.
excited for that.
Yep.
Now, I have yet to pick that up. I really need to jump the gun on that, but there's a lot of stuff coming out in the next couple of weeks that I've already put a lot of money into, and so maybe not the best time right now, but one of these days I will get it. Well, it sounds like our holidays were pretty good, but given that this is a new year, we wanted to take a moment to reflect on 2018 as a whole. So clearly we got some amazing games, and I think a lot of us went to some cool conventions and reached a bunch of life milestones, and so I think maybe we should just talk about some of the stuff that happened to us last year.
Yeah, sure. So for me, like 2018 was kind of a crazy year. Looking back, at the end of a year, like when you're exhausted, it's easy to just kind of like focus on the stressful stuff, the reasons why it was like a long or difficult year. But, sort of in prepping for this podcast, I had to, think about some of the cool opportunities I had in the past year too. And it was, it was a good chance to just be like a little more optimistic, and be like, hey, actually I did some really cool stuff in 2018. So like you said, like going to conventions, I traveled internationally for the first time. I went to the Enthusiast Gaming Live Expo, which is in Toronto, Canada. So, not that far. It's actually like the shortest flight I've ever taken. But that was still a pretty cool opportunity to, go to a not the United States country for the first time, and then to go to this pretty cool convention. It's like the biggest gaming convention in Canada. and it's thrown by our parent company, Enthusiast Gaming. So I got to go and like meet a lot of the other people that work at the staff, like the people that run sites like The Escapist and Destructoid and like Nintendo Enthusiast. So, you know, got to meet sort of a lot of coworkers that I've talked to online, but never met before. And then also, there was, you know, after like long days on the show floor, long days of staff meetings, we'd often, you know, go out to like a bar for the evening, just like get burgers and drinks and stuff. So got to meet some cool people there too, like Yahtzee from Zero Punctuation, you know, and I've been watching his crazy videos for like, I don't know, 10 years or something like that. So that was kind of cool. Just like kick back and have a drink with Yahtzee. That's not something I would have expected I would be doing, you know, a few years ago. But actually, surprisingly, that was not like the highlight of my year in terms of like getting to go cool places and do cool things. I know, Steven, you're probably going to be upset with me for bringing this up.
I have a feeling I know where this is going, and you can just get out right now.
Oh boy.
So yeah, at E3 this year, I'm still not completely sure how this worked out, but I got put on like a VIP invite list to go to a party being thrown by Jeff Ramsey, who, if you don't know, he's the head of Achievement Hunter, which they're a super popular like YouTube group, and you know they have their own website and stuff. So they just post tons of content. They're a really good like Let's Play group. And so I've been a fan of Rooster Teeth since I was, I think, 15, 14, something like that. And I'm 27 now. So, you know, I've been watching these guys for my entire adult life and then some. But yeah, I got invited to this party where Jeff was like showing off this new clothing line that they were selling like on the Rooster Teeth store and the Achievement Hunter store. And I just got to like bump into all these really cool people from Rooster Teeth and Achievement Hunter and Funhouse, and it was also an open bar, so you know that's always good too. And free tacos outside coming out of a taco truck. So that was a pretty good night, gotta say.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Steven just sent me in the chat a picture of himself flipping me off and just making the angriest face.
I gotta check that out. Oh, that is beautiful.
It reminded me of the time I went to E3 with you guys, and you, like, every time I got on Facebook, like, the first thing I saw was a post from you saying, "Oh, just met Miyamoto." And then, you know, like 5 minutes later, "Oh, just met Bill. Oh, just met Rich." Like, every time, it was the first thing on my timeline. I was like,
See, that's the thing. If you're at E3 with me, never leave my side for a second, because I'm a magnet for running into cool people. Like, I don't even really go seeking them out most of the time. I just happen to, you know, bump into people like, "Oh, wow, hey, what's up? Keiji Inafune, didn't expect to see you here commenting on my shirt."
I don't know if I want to talk to him after Mighty Number 9, but that's another story.
This was while Mighty Number 9 was still in development, so we still liked him back then.
There you go.
Well, I think one of the highlights for me this year, I mean, aside from all the amazing games that came out, I mean, we got a lot of big AAA titles, which are really fun. We got the God of War, Mega Man 11, Smash. I mean, come on. Great year for AAA games, but also a really great year for indies. There were a number that really captured my attention. Celeste, for instance. Happy early 1-year anniversary, by the way.
Yeah, we're all going to talk about that for sure. I mean, we've all written about it on the site now, so boom.
I just recently played it again because of the GDQ run, and it still holds up. Like, I mean, it's only been a year, but it's just as fun as it was the day I got it.
That GDQ run was really impressive, too.
Yeah, and it made me question a lot of things about myself and thinking that I could ever do that.
The previous GDQ, they also did a Tazbot run of Celeste, and that was just insane to watch. Like, literally pixel perfect a lot of the times.
Yeah, and then they did the two-person race, too, that was really close through most of it.
Oh, yeah.
That's already become, like, one of my favorite games to see speedrun. Like, it's right up there with, like, Super Metroid, honestly.
Yeah, and if you haven't seen the run, specifically the one from AGDQ 2019, which just ended, they did the all chapters category, which is like all the A sides, all the B sides, and all the C side. And that, like, my mouth was on the floor the entire time, because those, having recently played some of those, they're just insanely difficult levels.
Yeah. I've only ever beaten like 2 of the B-sides. And granted, I haven't played the game in quite a while. Like, I beat the main campaign and then tried a few of the tougher levels, and then other stuff came out and I got busy and I haven't gone back to it. So it's not like I dedicated a ton of time, but like I gave it a pretty good effort, and those B-sides were freaking tough, so.
Yeah, science has no explanation for how I beat the Seasides last year.
No, it does not.
You want to know how I beat the Seasides? Assist mode. And I am not embarrassed to say that, because it wouldn't have happened otherwise.
Nor should you be. I forgot that existed, so I'm just a masochist.
Oh, God.
And
yeah.
I'm just too prideful to turn it on.
But we also got some other really good indie games. The Messenger, I really enjoyed. The blend of 8-bit and 16-bit art styles and everything. Just absolutely fantastic game. Very humorous. Loved every minute of it. I still need to go finish that one. And then one that came out kind of recently toward the end of the year was Return of the Obra Dinn. And I haven't played that one yet, but I've heard many good things. The art style looks phenomenal, and I can't wait to dive into that one either.
Yeah, did you ever get a chance to play Hollow Knight this year?
I have not. I have it, but I have not touched it yet.
Okay.
I did. I kind of played it off and on for a couple months and eventually did get to the true ending, I believe, like 40 hours later.
I have not beaten it yet. It was one that I picked up and just was playing non-stop right before EGLX. And then after that, like, I got super busy. Like, I came home from Canada and everything, and then I had to actually move into a new house like over the holidays. So that was a whole thing. And then like Pokemon came out and Smash came out. So I haven't gotten back to it yet, but I was absolutely in love with what I was playing. And now that I've just beaten, I just finished writing up a review for an indie game that's actually coming out tomorrow, so it'll probably be out by the time this is posted. But yeah, so now I have a little more free time, so eventually I'm going to get back to Hollow Knight if I can pry myself away from shiny hunting and Pokemon Let's Go.
Yeah, I last played Pokemon... Well, I've played it off and on, but I'm still, like, barely past Koga just because more games came out since then and all that. But yeah, Hollow Knight, that's a really interesting one. So that came out, I believe, for PC last year and then was ported to consoles this year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for those who haven't played it, I'm probably going to ruffle some feathers as someone who hasn't actually played a lot of Dark Souls, but I've watched my roommates play plenty of that and Bloodborne. And I know it's the Dark Souls of insert genre here is pretty overused, but this might be the most appropriate comparison I've seen of that, just in terms of the aesthetic. They make you hunt for the lore, but it's pretty deep in there, and the difficulty as well is very fitting of the comparison. I mean,
well, and even like not just the level of difficulty, but sort of the style of it, where like the enemies have a lot of health and do a lot of damage, so you have to carefully like get in, get your slashes, get out, kind of do cycles on them like you would in Dark Souls, and then if you die, you drop all of your money and you have to go collect it, get it back, or else, if you die again before doing it, then you'll lose all your loot, which is also very Dark Souls. So yeah, it's not even just in like, hey, this is a gothic looking tough game. Like there's actually, pretty significant gameplay comparisons to be drawn between them. But
yes, absolutely.
one of them's 3D and one of them's 2D, so still very different experiences.
Precisely, yeah. And then there's so much content I still haven't touched, which is the free DLC that came out over the course of the first year, and I think there's still supposed to be another campaign on its way.
Yeah, I believe that's right. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to getting back into that, because I know that I've barely scratched the surface.
That was good. That was easily one of the most ambitious Metroidvanias we've ever seen, and it's been a good year for those two. I finally got to play Castlevania Symphony of the Night for the first time since that got re-released on PS4.
Woo.
And now Guacamelee 1 and 2 are out on Switch as well, which is kind of a combination of Metroidvania and beat-em-up platforming. So definitely recommend all of those if you're into Metroidvania in general.
Yeah, I've been meaning to get around to Symphony of the Night and also the Game Boy Advance Castlevania titles. I haven't really played many of the, like, I guess you'd call them Igavania. That's what Koji Igarashi calls them. He doesn't use the Metroidvania term. He calls them Igavania games. So yeah, I really respect that he's able to make good games in that style that aren't, Space Bounty Hunter, but instead are like, ye old-timey Vampire Hunter. But I have never actually gotten around to playing any of them because, I didn't grow up with a PlayStation, so. But I could have gotten the Game Boy Advance ones. I don't really have any excuse there.
It's been a while since I played the GBA ones, but the DS ones I really enjoyed as well.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I know the GBA ones are still available on Wii U Virtual Console, so I might go ahead and splurge on that at some point when my backlog is clearer.
I have to do that as well.
I think I forgot to talk about my year. I also went to a couple of con/nerdy type stuff. So yeah, I got to go to Planet Comic-Con in Kansas City earlier this year. The main guest of appeal, at least for me, was Charles Martinet, who voices pretty much half of like the Mario characters, it feels like.
But the important one, does he voice Bowsette?
Question for the ages. But yeah, he was a super nice guy, signed my copy of Super Mario Odyssey, and then my sister brought the manual for Mario's Game Gallery, which is an older PC game he also worked on pre-Super Mario 64. And so he signed that kind of for the whole family, and then we got a couple pictures. And there were a lot of other cool guests there, like Zach Callison, who voices Steven Universe, and my friend who's a huge Dragon Ball fan got to meet Sean Schemmel and Chris Sabat, which was so awesome.
Yeah, I'm especially a big fan of Sabat.
Yeah, I didn't pay up for that as well, because that's expensive, but we were kind of in the line for moral support, and so Chris waved at us at the end, so I'm like, ah! And yeah, and several other guests we didn't see, but were there, including Alice Cooper, which seemed pretty random, and I forget the actor's name, but he's Bronn on Game of Thrones.
Oh, I couldn't tell you. I don't keep up with that show.
Yeah, which I'm sorry, you're a great actor, my bad.
So I can confirm Charles Martinet is just like the nicest dude on earth. He's usually there at E3, and he'll a day or two come out and just kind of walk around the Nintendo area doing Mario impressions and taking selfies with fans and stuff. And the year that Nintendo brought Breath of the Wild and nothing else to E3, it was just kind of a nightmare because there was just one huge line to get into the sort of display they had set up, and then you split up into smaller lines to go get to your console. So that huge entry line, some people were waiting 6, 7, 8 hours to get in, and oh man. So he went up and down the line for a couple hours and just shook hands with every single person in line, took selfies, talked to people, just trying to ease the wait. Just a really sweet guy.
That's amazing. What else? Oh yeah, I went to a couple of really good concerts last year. The first was Weird Al in April did his big deep cuts, more kind of intimate tour, so that you got to hear a lot of really obscure, original, non-parody songs, and that was just a great show. And if you're on Stitcher Premium, he actually uploaded every single concert from that tour, and so that's a fun listen.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I listened to Weird Al a lot growing up. I've never seen him in concert, but I'm sure he must put on a really good show. He
did. This was, not that I would know, having seen him 5 times. He's also, coming up this year, he also has what they're calling the Strings Attached Tour, which will be a whole orchestra with adapting his songs and all that. So I'm pretty excited for that. And then later in the fall was Ninja Sex Party, for those of you Game Grumps, Starbomb, and SP fans out there. That was their first time in Kansas City, and that was an amazing show, with the openers being Planet Booty and Twerp, who was also their backing band.
Yeah, Starbomb, they amuse me quite a bit with some of their music videos. I definitely don't keep up with regular releases, but every couple of months or so I have to go back and watch Regretroid on YouTube.
Yes.
It just cracks me up every time.
Yes. Starbomb is also teasing a new album right now. It was, we've known it was happening for a while, and I think they were originally shooting for December or January. I want to say March now, but every now and then they will tweet out what looks to be just a tiny little picture of the album cover.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully we'll see more news on that soon. Ninja Sex Party and Starbomb albums, those are all really great as well. Especially NSP has been really improving instrumentally since they started working with Twerp, since the couple of cover albums they put out over the last 2 years. And then their third cover album is, I believe, coming out sometime later this year. So I'm pretty excited for that and Starbomb.
Busy dudes.
Definitely. Yeah, on top of all the regular Game Grump stuff, which just keeps evolving. But, yeah, I think that's it for me. Aside from games, which we'll get to.
Yeah, I don't go to a lot of concerts anymore, but the one I distinctly remember from last year that I went to was REO Speedwagon and Styx.
Oh, dude, that would be awesome.
So it was actually 3 groups. They had Don Felder of the Eagles opening.
Wow.
Nice.
Then they did Styx, and then REO Speedwagon came out. Styx is my personal favorite. I am much more familiar with their music than the other two. And they played a lot of the classics. Like, they played some from their newest album, but most of it was the stuff that I knew. And
they know what people bought tickets for.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. But I think the defining moment of that concert for me, because I was like 5 rows from the stage, it was crazy. But right at the end of Don Felder's opening act, he brought out the 2-neck guitar that he used for Hotel California.
Yeah.
And so they did Hotel California. But they did it with some of the members from Styx and REO Speedwagon. And I was like right next to the Jettison out into the audience. And when they got to the guitar solo from Hotel California, Don Felder and the lead guitarist from Styx and the lead guitarist from REO Speedwagon went out there and just shredded like the 3 of them together. And it was like the most magical thing I've ever seen in my
It's
entire
a spiritual
life.
moment.
But yeah, other than that, the concert was really good. I mean, all 3 of them were great. But I think Styx for me was my personal favorite. Like I said, just being a little bit more familiar with them than the other.
Yeah, I think I only went to, off the top of my head, I can only think of one concert that I went to last year. But it was the Proto Men. So if you're not familiar with them, they do like sort of 80s rock style rock operas about Mega Man. And like for their second album, they actually got Meatloaf's producer, like, you know, like the old rock artist Meatloaf. So like that should give you an idea of sort of their style. You know, they're big on the guitars and whatnot.
Amazing.
Yeah, they always put on a great show. So they'll actually, like, for some of the songs, the characters or the you know, the singers and the musicians will dress up as like Mega Man and Proto Man to like act out what's going on in the rock opera at that point.
Oh, I should be more into that, as obsessed as I was with Mega Man in my early childhood.
Yeah, well, definitely check out Act 2, because it takes place chronologically first, and it's also just like the better album. Their first one was a little more raw. Check it out. I think you might dig them.
I will, yeah. I know they were also in Kansas City pretty close to the same time as NSP, but, you know, concert budget and all that.
Yeah. So they one of their opening bands was the Bit Brigade. And so what's cool about them is they don't exactly have a lead singer. What they have is a speedrunner. They have a guy come on stage and he plays through Mega Man 2 at just blistering speed. And then what they do is they have him like plugged into, you know, like a big projector, so you can see everything he's doing. And they have it set up so that the projector is putting out sound effects, but not music. And then a band behind him just live plays the music that should be playing in the game and like switches it up. Like when he goes through a boss door, they seamlessly switch from the level music to the boss music, and then to like the select screen music to the pause screen music. Like they know it all. They just watch him play and like seamlessly transition throughout the whole run.
That is the best thing I've ever heard in my entire life.
Right?
It's amazing. Like, you must be able to find their performances on like YouTube or something if you were to look around. If you ever get the chance to go see them, absolutely do. But like in the meantime, like, yeah, look them up. Bit Brigade. They're really cool.
God, yeah. I also, back in 2015, got the chance to go to the Zelda Symphony when it was in the area, which is, holy crap, that was great. It's awesome. It sounds like they might not be doing that again, at least for a very long time, which is a bummer, but hopefully that'll change. I know they also came back in 2017 for their later tour, which which I think was when they did include Breath of the Wild type stuff. I wasn't able to go to that one because I ended up going to Green Day around the same time and couldn't afford both.
Well, it's interesting you bring that up because I'd completely forgotten that, 2 days after I moved into my current place, I went to go see the Kingdom Hearts Symphony. And it was a really good concert. Don't get me wrong. The thing I didn't like about it compared to the other ones I've been to, and I mean, I've been to Zelda, I went to the 2 Final Fantasies, I've been to Video Games Live a few times, so, I do this. But this one felt very impersonal compared to the other ones. It was pretty much, here we are, we're playing music, that's it.
They didn't have a video display going on, or?
I mean, they had a video display going on with, the name of the song and stuff, but in all those other concerts, the conductor and the host would interact with the audience and talk a little bit about, what's coming up next or what you just listened to. And it was very fun and very, fan-oriented. And this one was very, we're just here to play music. The conductor did not talk at all the entire time I was there. There was little to no breaks. It was just song after song. I mean, it was very good music. I have the CD, listen to it constantly. Very well done, but it felt super impersonal compared to the other ones I've been to. And I was a little disappointed with that.
Yeah, it was just a concert, whereas the other ones are a lot more of an experience. I went to the Zelda one years ago, so it was pretty close to when they had first started touring. I think they've been doing it less than a year. But then I think, let's see, was it just last year? It was either it wasn't 2018. It was either 2017 or 2016. I think it was 2017. I had the chance to see the Pokemon Symphonic Evolutions tour. So they actually did a show in Los Angeles during E3, and so I just happened to be there for E3. I hadn't bought a ticket or anything, and tickets online were really expensive. So I was like, yeah, I mean that'd be cool, but I'm not spending that money. I have to pay for overpriced convention food already. I can't go drop $100 on a concert ticket. But then I don't know what the deal was. I don't know if they didn't sell all their tickets or what, but as I'm just walking back from the show floor to my hotel, someone was just walking around in that LA Live Plaza area, just handing out tickets for $10 or something. And I was like, well, shit, I'm not going to pass that up. So I got to go see it on the cheap. And like you said, it was a lot more personal. They'd explain, sort of the background and history behind songs. And, there's a video display showing cutscenes from the games and stuff. And then even because it was in E3, or because it was in LA for E3, Pokemon's producer, Junichi Masuda, was in Los Angeles that day. And, now he's the primary director / producer, one or the other of every Pokemon game. He's always wearing one of those hats, sometimes both. But, he started out as just, mostly a composer for the series. So he's actually, written some of these songs, and every now and then he still will write a new song. So he actually came out on stage and talked a little bit too, and then, played one of his more recent pieces. So, just like you said, much, much more personal.
I think the other major thing I did last year, I didn't get to go to any, cool conventions like E3 or EGLX. I did get to go to SGDQ.
Yeah.
Which, for me, was a really big deal, having been into speedrunning for now maybe 2 or 3 years. But it was absolutely wonderful. I unfortunately only got to stay basically for a day. Pretty much went up and came back. But it was super fun. I had the pleasure of sitting on the couch during the Cuphead run, because I'm one of the moderators for that community, and so that was, not only was it my first time going to a GDQ, but I got to sit on the damn couch and behind the Mexican runner who I very much look up to just as a speedrunner, and just with his NES project where he was the first one to beat all the NES games.
To be clear, that's his screen name. Steven didn't just forget his name. We were all pretty proud at Gamnesia watching our boy Steven on the couch giving out commentary throughout a really awesome Cuphead run.
Yeah, that was so badass. Also, I forgot he was the NES guy. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yep. But I think what made that run particularly fun for me, it was, you watch GDQ and there's always that little bit you have to explain things, and you it's a speedrunning event. You gotta go fast. But we kind of early on made the decision that we were just going to have a little bit more fun with it, because in the community we use loadless time, and there was no way to replicate that at GDQ, and so we kind of knew going into that regardless of what happened, it wouldn't be a quote-unquote valid run. And so we decided to kind of chill a little bit. We did some voice acting and for the cutscenes. It was just all around a great time. I think it was like one of the most watched runs that marathon, or going off of the YouTube stats there shortly afterwards. And that room was packed. I don't know if there was a seat available. It was absolutely crazy to see how many people came out in support of that. It was a wonderful experience. I just wish I could have stayed longer, because there was so much there that you don't see on the stream. I mean, they have tournament rooms, they have an arcade, they have just a board game room. It's just so much aside from the streaming and the speedrunning part of it, and I just wish that I had been able to experience that a bit more. But I was there for the important part, and that's what matters. And hopefully, I can't go this year, but hopefully maybe next year I might try and get a game in there again.
Yeah,
it'd be awesome to get you back there again. Maybe one of these days you'll be the one running.
Well, that's what I meant. I have a couple ideas of things I can do. I actually just bought a game which I have not played yet, but I'm thinking that, as far as the number of people running it have a good chance. As far as whether it would actually get accepted, I highly doubt it. But it's going to be torture for me. I can
maybe as an incentive bonus.
There you go.
Yeah, maybe we'll see.
But yeah, I'm hoping it'll come to Kansas City one of these days, so that maybe I can make it out for a bit. I think the next GDQ is or AGDQ, I think, is in Florida, so maybe our buddies Humulos and Alpha can make it, which would be pretty cool.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, the other really cool thing about that for me was, like, I didn't get to meet all these people in the gaming industry, but there are a number of speedrunners that I watch a lot and are pretty familiar with that I got to either formally or informally meet while I was there, and that was really cool. And Spike Vegeta was just everywhere. Like, I turned around and there he is. Too. And I really should have taken the chance to talk to him for a minute, but he was always pretty busy and I was busy. And but I think the coolest thing for me, as far as people I sort of met, was we were at this Mexican place next to the hotel. It was kind of like a Qdoba or Chipotle type of thing. And we were getting ready to leave. And I was looking in the line, and like right in front of me was this guy, and he had these really cool tennis shoes. They were like space themed. And so I like tapped him on the back of the shoulder. I'm like, "Hey, nice shoes." And he's like, "Thanks." And then I left. And then like 10 seconds later, I realized it was Carl Sagan 42, who I've watched a lot of his Mario Maker stuff. And I was like, "Damn it!" Like, if I had known that was him, like, I would have said something other than, "Hey, nice shoes."
Yeah, those Mario Maker runs are crazy too, especially when they kind of like go into them blind. They only know like, oh, we're going to give you like a 5-star difficulty level, but you don't get to see what it is before jumping in. I know they did like a relay race with that a couple of years ago. That was really
yeah, it's a great experience, just all around.
Mario Maker was fun to play. I just did not consider myself creative enough to build anything, but just playing those gauntlets repeatedly was a lot of fun. So many really cool user-generated ideas.
Yeah, I built a few cool levels, but I ended up selling my Wii U, so now they're lost to the ether forever.
I think the coolest level I made had you solving math problems, and if you got it right, you got to go on, and if not, you fell into some fiery trap or something. I mean, it was like simple math because there's only so much you can do with coins, but I thought it was like okay for me.
I think my favorite one I made was probably a ghost ship. So you start on just like a Super Mario Bros. 3 style airship, with cannons everywhere and whatever. And if you take the top route, then it was pretty dangerous in terms of like projectiles and hammer bros and whatnot. Or you can you could take a tube down to the bottom route, which is where you go into the belly of the ship, and it's basically just like a, like a boo mansion or something inside there, where there's you gotta like, collect keys and solve puzzles and stuff with boos chasing you around. So it's kind of like, two different choices.
I think the most unique one I ever saw, and I can't remember the name, so if you're out there listening, I apologize, but it was like in Bowser's Castle, but then at the end, he falls into the lava and by the narrative, essentially dies, and then the final room with the flagpole is outside of the castle, but then you see Bowser just floating away on a platform with wings attached.
That's funny.
And that was just, that was one of the funniest, trippiest ones I saw.
All Bowsers go to heaven.
Yeah. Aside from that, the don't move stages were always a guilty pleasure for me. Like, I know for some the novelty probably wore off, as many as there were, but there were still some really creative and well-designed ones out there. It was just cool to see them in action.
Yeah, they were really cool. The only issue I would have is just that they got so popular that if you're trying to search, like, best stages or whatever, you'd get like a whole page of them. It's like, okay, when can I finally play a level?
Yeah.
But I appreciated them all individually. They were all pretty sweet.
Mm-hmm. Right, so do we want to talk about more 2018 games?
I don't know if I have anything else game-related for 2018.
Yeah, I mean, I guess my big ones were most of the ones you mentioned as well. Like, I did do one run of God of War, thought that was very cool, especially after, I hadn't played a lot of older God of War until God of War 3 Remastered came out this past year as a free PS Plus game, and it was definitely interesting to see the distinction between old and new God of War, because 3 felt a little shallow by comparison, just in its very linear beat-em-up, and so just the depth of story in the new game was incredible.
Yeah, it's definitely a different kind of experience for a different generation.
I had a lot of fun with Spider-Man as well. The DLC started out great, and then narrative-wise, I don't think really stuck the landing, and it got really, really hard in the later packs, even on normal mode. But overall, I thought the game was excellent. I would love to see that expand into kind of a Marvel game universe, as they've teased at.
A bit off topic here, but speaking of Spider-Man, has anyone seen Into the Spider-Verse?
Not yet.
Oh my
God,
gosh.
I need to see that.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat where it's like I've heard nothing but amazing things, but I just haven't had that opportunity to, like, get the gang of friends together and go to the movies. Although I'm doing that tomorrow, but not for Spider-Verse.
Yeah, I was a little hesitant on it at first because I'd seen a couple of trailers, and I was just like, the animation style, I think, threw me a little bit, but then I went and saw it over break, and I left thinking that it may be my favorite Marvel movie ever created.
Wow, I've heard a few people say that, and it's a pretty bold claim.
Yeah, for sure.
Very funny. Like, my stepmom, who isn't into comics at all, was like laughing the entire time. Like, it was just very, very heartfelt story. Very, like, I could relate to it a lot. But just very well done by everyone involved, I think. Excellent movie, for sure.
Awesome. It did just pick up the Golden Globe for Best Animated, and I wouldn't be surprised if it does so at the Oscars as well, based on all this hype and high praise. But yeah, I remember when I beat Spider-Man on PS4 late last year, I remember thinking this is secretly the best Spider-Man movie so far, just because I was really impressed with like the pacing and the writing and just the setting overall. So we didn't have to see Uncle Ben die again, much like
spoilers.
Oh no, I'm so sorry, Ben.
Who am I going to get my rice from now?
Because I haven't heard that joke a million times.
Right. Yeah. So I had said that about the plot of the game, but then of course Spider-Verse came out the same year, and that is just amazing by all counts. So I'm excited to see that too.
Yeah, I don't really have any other games to touch on for 2018. I played some Nintendo games, but I already talked about those at length on the Switched On podcast, so that probably about wraps it up for my 2018 stuff.
Yeah, pretty much. I have played kind of some older pre-2018 games more recently, but I don't think I have a lot to say in that regard yet.
Yeah, I mean, that's the only other thing I had was non-game related, but in terms of like major life milestones, like I finally graduated college, which was something. Yeah, after 6 years and 4 degrees, like
Yeah, I bet that's a pretty big weight off the shoulders.
it was for a couple months, and then I started grad school, and now I'm kind of regretting that. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it was a very emotional thing for me just to put in all that work and to finally be done with everything, especially after transferring schools once and like leaving everything I had worked for a year and a half behind and moving to a different town and everything. I made it somehow.
Yeah, that's gotta feel good. I also finished grad school this summer, so I, to a point, feel you there. I'm definitely glad to be done with that and hopefully be done with school for good, but you never know with life, I suppose.
Well, I think if that does it for 2018, why don't we kind of flip the script and see if there's anything that we're looking forward to this current year in 2019.
Nope, not a damn thing.
Time is a construct.
So, I have some unfortunate news, guys. I think I might be a weeb. I was thinking about, like, what I could write down for stuff I'm looking forward to in 2019, and there's just way too much anime on this list. I think
Gasp.
It's about time you admit it.
No, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of games that we can touch on too, but yeah, I was just kind of putting together a list of things I'm excited for in 2019, and like we were talking about earlier, me and Steven are both pretty big Rooster Teeth fans. They've got a new show called Genlock coming out, which I don't know if that counts as anime. It's made in Austin, Texas, so, So if you haven't heard of that, it's actually kind of a pretty big deal. It's got to be the most expensive thing that they've ever done, I would think, because they actually got landed a lot of like Hollywood actors to come be voice actors for it. Like the main character is Michael B. Jordan, who is Killmonger, in Black Panther, and then they also got David Tennant as playing one of the main characters. Ooh. Yeah. Maisie Williams from Game of Thrones is playing a main character. I think Dakota Fanning's in it. Like they've got like all kinds of names I wasn't expecting. So yeah, it's basically a mech anime, futuristic mech anime. So that kicks off in about 2 weeks.
Yeah, and I haven't been following that one too much, but I saw a trailer for it today actually, just browsing YouTube, and I was like, "Holy crap, this looks amazing."
Yeah, they put a lot of work into it. So this is the baby of Gray Haddock, he's the head of like Rooster Teeth's whole animation department, but usually he's just kind of, I guess I would compare it to like the Miyamoto role where he has like a hand in everything, but this show is actually like his baby. He's the main director on this one. So so I'm looking forward to that. And I actually, Mob Psycho 100, I don't know if either of you guys have watched that crazy fucking show, but that just started up again.
Not yet.
Yeah, so.
Not familiar with that one.
It's nuts. It's made by the same guy who made One Punch Man, which is also about to start back up again, so looking forward to both of those.
That does seem like one that I would like.
Yeah, it's pretty hilarious.
Did you ever watch The Dragon Prince on Netflix? That's by the, head writer, or one of them, of Avatar: The Last Airbender, and has a lot of the same staff and voice cast.
Yeah, I haven't watched it yet. I've seen some trailers and stuff for it, and it's on the to-do list. I just recently got Netflix again because the roommate has it, so he just put me on his account and I put him on my Hulu.
There you go.
Yeah, so we're it's a symbiotic relationship. But yeah, so it's on the to-do list for sure. I have been watching a little bit of Voltron, which is like made by, I believe, a lot of the animation team from Avatar. So I'm on the sort of other side of the production team.
Okay, yeah. I haven't watched that yet. I think a handful of the Gamnesia staff has been pretty into that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've never watched any of the old Voltron shows, because this is like the 7th iteration of it. It's like Power Rangers, where they've been making it for ever and a half. But, I was basically told, you don't gotta see any of the old stuff to watch this, you can just jump right in. It's like, oh, okay, yeah. Sure.
I think the most I've seen was, like, old Robot Chicken stuff, so,
yeah. Very memey.
Exactly.
Surprisingly, I don't know that many anime coming out this year, but if I did, it's probably something I shouldn't mention on a podcast.
Steven, are you watching naughty anime?
Oh.
No, Steven, you know what you do need to watch, which I'm gonna guess you still haven't, even though you told me you would?
My Hero Academia.
Absolutely. Season 4 comes out in October. You got plenty of time to catch up. You gotta start it, man. You'll love it.
Yeah, I've seen a few episodes here and there. My sister is obsessed.
Your sister has good taste.
Yes. Yeah. I'm definitely not on the same anime level as everyone else. Like I have like a casual appreciation of Dragon Ball. I'm very behind on Super though. And then I guess Castlevania is another one where you have to ask, does it count, since Western studio and all that, but I've really enjoyed that series so far, despite sucking at most of the games I've played.
Yeah.
It really sucks because I've not seen a lot of animation lately. Like, I haven't even watched Castlevania Season 2, and I was hyped for that so much. Like, the closest thing to an anime I've seen recently is the My Little Pony movie.
Okay.
Which I drunk tweeted about it the other day when I watched it.
Ooh, okay.
So if anyone saw that, I apologize.
Yeah, I know. Some people are definitely into that show big time. I have yet to watch any of it, although Weird Al did do a voice cameo at one point, so I'll probably watch that one eventually.
Look, I remember, like, when I first got into it, my roommate at the time, a combination of him talking about it, and I listened to Internet Box podcast a lot, and they talk about My Little Pony all the time on that. And so I was like, just give it like 2 or 3 episodes, and because I was very hesitant, because I'm like, it's a girl show, like, what the hell? And then I watched it, and I was hooked, but none of my friends would ever let me talk about it. Like, I would literally say the words "my little," and they were just like, nope, nope, not doing this.
Gender roles.
But no, surprisingly, I haven't seen it in a while, but I do remember it being very good, and I did watch quite a bit of that back in the day.
Yeah.
And I'm saying that as I'm sitting here looking at a little Applejack figure I have on my desk, so...
Yeah, my niece is pretty big into it, so I've bought a lot of My Little Pony merchandise, but I've never watched an episode of the show. I just know she likes it, so it's like, okay, yeah, sure, I'll buy you the ponies.
It was kind of funny when I got this one. I wasn't planning on it, but we were doing a gift exchange at work, and I had to get something for a 3 to 18-year-old girl. And I'm like, 1, that's super vague.
Yeah.
2, like, I don't know what girls like. And so I was wandering around Target, and I was like, you know what? Here's the My Little Pony stuff. Like, I'll just get one of these. And then I got it, I'm just like, no, this one's mine. and then I went and got like an art kit or something.
So, Will, you mentioned that you're behind on it, but that you've watched a little bit of Dragon Ball Super. So, I'm actually, tomorrow night, I'm going with some friends to see the Broly movie, so I'm pretty excited about that. I've heard really good reviews.
I'm also going with a group on Saturday, so hopefully I won't be too lost.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I feel like it's going to be mostly self-contained. Actually, from the trailers and stuff, and from what I've heard, about a third of the movie is going to be like focused on the past and like, you know, the sort of origins of Goku and Vegeta and Broly and, you know, what happened to their home planet and whatnot. So I don't think too much of it is going to relate to like Super itself. How far behind are you on Super?
Last I watched, had pretty much just finished the Resurrection F retcon saga, and they had like started talking about the Super Dragon Balls and whatnot. So
what you're saying is you stopped when the show got good. Got it.
I'm sure. Yeah, sounds about right. Yeah, but I'm excited for that and also this will actually be my second big screen Dragon Ball experience, because I went with a friend to Resurrection F on the big screen when that was in the area for a bit. And so I think, yeah, that was at the Alamo Draft House in Kansas City, which I don't know if there's one near you, but that's a great theater chain. They have a really good menu and drinks and all that.
Okay, yeah, it sounds familiar. I think there might be one in the Chicago area.
Yeah, and they yeah, probably. And they definitely they definitely take theater etiquette very seriously there. Like, they have all these warnings, like, put your phone away if we will give you a warning, and then next time you're out. There are some exceptions to that for special showings and, like, quote-alongs or sing-alongs. My local one has also done special showings of The Room every now and then, which is amazing.
You're tearing me apart, Lisa!
Yeah, they give you spoons to throw, since there's those little spoons on, like, the picture frames in the set and everything, for no reason as far as I know. But
That's a wonderful
yeah.
tradition.
And there were, people kind of developed these traditions as well, just based on various lines in the movie. Like, when you have the long pan of the Golden Gate Bridge, the whole crowd just goes, go, 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 as it pans slowly. What else? So I guess games coming up this year. I don't have a huge list because I can't remember a lot of what's coming up, but I'm really hoping we'll see Metroid Prime 4 this year.
I'll call it 50-50, which I know is like the least useful commentary ever, but Reggie went out of his way to mention that that it's pretty far along in development. And then also a few months back, this didn't pan out, but there's this sort of tipster or whatever who's, gotten some things right in the past, and he indicated that we'd be getting a Metroid Prime announcement or trailer or, something related to either like Prime Trilogy or Prime 4 at the Game Awards. And then that didn't happen. But keep in mind, this guy also leaked, like, everything about Pokemon Let's Go, like, 3 months before it was announced. So I feel like it's a case where he probably wasn't completely wrong. Maybe it was something Nintendo was considering and that it just didn't happen. But if he says that it's coming, then it's like, I feel like a trailer's gotta be coming sometime soon. But maybe they just decided that the Game Awards wasn't the right place. So yeah, I'm with you there.
But you know what it was the right time for?
What's that?
Joker in Super Smash Brothers.
Yeah. So you're a Persona fan. What do you think?
I
about
have
that?
not been able to really speak publicly about this yet because I haven't had the opportunity. But holy crap! Like, I just, that was so out of left field. Like, I started crying the second I knew that video was Persona related, and then I saw the Smash logo, and I just about lost my.
I'm sure.
Yeah, I don't think anyone saw that coming.
I mean, so one, it was kind of funny because, a couple of us in the staff are Persona fans. Like, we couldn't believe it, and then maybe an hour or so after the announcement, I'm like, wait, you know what this means? We get music from the series. And then, like, 30 minutes later, wait, we get a stage from the series. I'm like, wait, Joker, Kirby. And so, like, every, 15, 20 minutes, like, something else just popped in my head. And right when I started to, like, calm down, I just got so much more excited.
Yeah. Well, and then there's also, the rumors that, and it makes sense, that Persona 5 itself is actually coming to Switch next year, or this year now, I guess.
Yeah, I was actually going to get to that in a second. But I think, for me, going back to Smash, one of the cool things I think is with Joker's inclusion in Smash, like, who else are they going to put in? Because, like, this is only the first
Batman.
of the 5 fighters in that pack. So we still have 4 more who haven't been unveiled yet. And if they could get someone like Joker, who has never appeared on a Nintendo console and is a very big, like, Sony character, it's like, it just raises the question of, like, who else are they gonna get? Like, I'm not gonna sit here and make guesses, but, like, I think it's not entirely out of the question that we could see someone like Sora. Might be a bit harder with Disney and all, but I mean, Square Enix and Nintendo seem to have a really good relationship right now, at the very least.
Yeah, I'm still crossing my fingers for Banjo-Kazooie after all the times Phil Spencer has talked it up on Twitter.
Right?
That would be very good as well. But yeah, I think getting to the Persona thing, one of the major things I'm looking forward to this year is finding out what the hell Persona 5 are.
Yeah.
So if you haven't been following, earlier this year, maybe like within the past week or two, I don't even remember when it was. But anyway, they teased something big for Persona 5, and it's currently known as Persona 5R. We're not sure anything other than that, anything platforms. There's a big rumor that it's going to come to Switch, which would make a lot of sense with Joker being in Smash now. But I think the most reasonable theory I've seen so far is that they're going to do something along the lines of Persona 4 Golden and do, I guess, not so much a port because it was already on 4, but just did like a definitive edition of Persona 5 where you have the base game and then they throw in an extra character and an extra side story or something like that, which I think would be really cool. Do I need to buy it if it's something like that? No, but I'm going to in a heartbeat. Because
will I? Yes.
Yeah, I still think I like Persona 4 a bit better, but Persona 5 is definitely nearly there in my list as well. So I'm very much looking forward to see what that is. And if it comes to Switch, then I could take it on the go, and I would never have a reason not to have my Switch with me.
Yeah, I said this on the other podcast, but there's just no reason not to release every RPG under the sun on Switch. Like, just do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I guess for 2019 games I'm looking forward to, the first one comes out tomorrow. So by the time this podcast airs, it'll be out already, I'm assuming, unless like by some magic fuckery Steven gets this up tonight, which I would be very impressed, but not
I would too.
So it's there's this indie game I've had my eye on since its earliest inception, since probably like before it had a name even, and it's Y2K, a postmodern RPG. So basically the story here is that there's this team called Axe Studios, and it's largely just a family, like two brothers, and then I believe their sister helps with artwork as well. And then I think the two brothers are the only full-time staff, and then they hire some other people on it from time to time to help out. So they made a first game that it was moderately successful, but the PC version had like some optimization problems, and they weren't able to do some of the things they wanted with it. But then for their second project, they decided to make a 3D game, sort of loosely inspired by the canceled Earthbound 64. And so this game, like I said, it's been in development for almost 5 years, I think. And I've been kind of like, keeping close tabs on it because it sort of seems up my alley in terms of its tone and everything. And now it's finally coming out. So I got a review copy of that, and I published my review on the site. So if you're interested in knowing more about that, you can head to Gamnesia.com and look for the review for Y2K, a postmodern RPG. But yeah, definitely if you're a fan of RPGs or weird trippy games, it's very much about like the paranormal and the supernatural and stuff like that. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, I think it's worth checking out.
It does look cool, yeah, and I've seen you on my Switch friends list playing that a lot over the past several weeks, but I think it was only this week that I finally realized from context that it was Y2K and not like Yick or Yeek or whatever. Yes.
Yeah,
so
I think maybe going with the Roman numeral instead of the 2 might have been a mistake, and this is something that blew my mind. I didn't even think about it, but part of the reason people were getting confused isn't just because the Roman numeral, but because there's a whole generation of people that have never heard the phrase Y2K and don't remember the associated panic and paranoia that, came with it.
Don't remind me how old I am.
Yeah, so they're on their official Twitter account, they like made a post the other day. They're like, Y2K refers to a supposed computer bug, and then I'm like, oh my god, there's people that don't know. I didn't even think about that. There's a whole generation of teenagers that look at that and think, yeek. Is that some new form of yeeting?
Or like an offshoot of yeet.
You can't see it, but I'm dabbing over here. That's how hip I am.
Yes.
And then, yeah, aside from that, I don't know if I'll buy it right at launch, but Resident Evil 2 Remake just looks freaking glorious.
Oh, yeah.
I'm definitely grabbing that next week.
I was actually kind of lucky because I went to go pre-order it, and I had to settle for the deluxe edition, but I randomly...
settle for the deluxe.
Well, I randomly checked GameStop yesterday, the website, and they actually were taking pre-orders for the collector's edition, so I jumped on that. More money I don't need to be spending, but I mean, come on, you get a Leon figure. Like,
Leon is objectively the best protagonist in the whole series.
I'm partial to Claire, but
yeah, Claire's fine
for reasons. But
yeah. Have you guys tried the demo yet?
Not yet.
I have not.
I did do it this past Friday when it came out. I enjoyed it overall. It's the mood was definitely impressive, and it does remind me a lot of older Resident Evil in terms of aesthetic, and you have like the same fine caution, danger, damage mechanic, and sometimes zombies will still be like on the ground, but then will be like psych and grab your leg and do damage, which, you know, I've seen a lot in older Resident Evil and Let's Plays, but it caught me even more off guard in a 3D setting, so I think it's going to nail the horror part pretty well from what I've seen.
Yeah, the zombies are just like so much more realistic, like both in terms of their looks and like the, you know, just the way they're animated, right? You know, the way they lurch at you or crawl at you or swipe at you, you know, they're not a pile of pixels anymore like they were when Resident Evil 2 first came out.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I appreciate that, you know, they reworked the camera and control scheme, because, you know, I would love to go back and play through the entire Raccoon City trilogy, but it's like I fucking hate those tank controls and fixed camera angles. Like, I just can't do it. And you know, this looks much closer to the style used in Resident Evil 4 and Revelations, which are probably my two favorite in the series. So, and also the like tight, dimly lit hallways, that kind of thing, very similar to the mood of Resident Evil Revelations, which is again my favorite. So I feel like this will be right up my alley, and it'll let me experience the Raccoon City panic without having to deal with like PS1 controls, which are the devil.
For sure. I did play through 0 and the Resident Evil 1 HD on PS4 a year or two ago, and the nice thing there is that the tank controls are optional. You can just use the left stick instead in most cases.
Right, but the fixed camera angles are not, so...
That is true, yeah. I remember I tried to play them on like the GameCube or Wii years ago and couldn't get into it. But then after watching Let's Plays and Speedrun, I started to get more comfortable with it. But yeah, it's definitely not for everyone. I get you there, especially as someone who started out with RE4 also.
Yeah, I bought it on Wii U because it was on sale for like $10. The Resident Evil 1 remaster or whatever. So, and yeah, you know, they did what they could, but it was a little rough for me.
Other games, the Yoshi's Crafty World coming in March. Or Crafting World, I don't know. One of those.
Crafted, I think.
Crafted, there we go. Oh, yeah. Not to be confused with Yoshi's Crafty Tax Dodging. I haven't seen a whole lot about that yet. I know a new trailer dropped recently, but I picked up Woolly World for the Wii U kind of late in the game and enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would. Like, arguably best Yoshi platformer in my opinion. So I think Crafted could be really good as well.
Definitely has a cute look to it.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole like you know, switching between like the foreground and background. I mean, that's a gimmick they used a lot on 3DS, but we haven't really seen it outside of that platform. So
True.
They can do some cool things with it.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, I guess some of the Donkey Kong games did a bit of that. So
True.
Yeah, for whatever reason, I've never been a huge fan of like the Yoshi games. Like I loved Yoshi's Island when I was, you know, a little kid growing up with Super Nintendo, but going back to it, it's just, I don't know if it's the way it controls or what, but I can't quite get into it anymore, and I haven't really been able to get into the newer ones since then. But it's one of those things where it's like, it's not for me, but I'm glad that it's you know, an IP that Nintendo keeps investing in, because it's adorable and it's just a nice addition to its lineup that's gonna attract people that, you know, aren't bitter Yoshi haters like me.
Yeah, it's had its hurdles. I mean, I never tried the 3DS one, but by most accounts that was bad, apparently.
I can't speak much to its gameplay, but like I played it at E3 when it was, you know, just coming out or whatever, and they had like a demo, and I just thought it looked ugly. Like the art style they chose and the pixelated look on the 3DS screen, I was just like, yeah, this isn't pleasant to look at. And that's always been like one of the draws of the Yoshi games, is that they always have sort of a unique and interesting art style that's supposed to charm you and bring you in. I'm like, yeah, if your art style's not doing it for me, then I highly doubt your gameplay is gonna get me hooked either.
Yeah, I get that. The only other game on my mental list, I think, was Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, I think that's the title. Comes out exclusively for Switch later this year.
That's a big get.
As we learned from the Game Awards. That is, yeah. I think I played either the first or the second on 360 with some friends years ago, and I don't know if I spent enough time with it to get into it, but I think it's fascinating that Nintendo grabbed something like that as an exclusive, which hopefully I would think speaks to how well the Switch is doing, excuse me.
They're actually publishing it, so it looks like it won't be a timed exclusive. It'll be exclusive forever because they're the ones like throwing money at it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll be keeping my eye on that because I would definitely love to have more good couch co-op games again. Of course, there's still Smash, which hopefully will keep us going for a while.
Yeah, for sure. Like, Smash is one of those games that, like, it's going to be a mainstay in my Switch for the rest of Switch's life, and then some, probably.
But yeah, I think that was a cool get, because on the one hand, it's really interesting to see Nintendo publishing games like that, and from a novelty perspective, Bayonetta, just because of how different that is from their typical all-ages brand.
Yeah.
And then on the flip side...
That and Devil's Third back in last generation.
Beat me to it, yes. I actually did play a little bit of Devil's Third because my library locally had a copy of it. I definitely gave it a fair shot. I thought, maybe it could be not the worst for a while. And I mean, it's not the worst game I've ever played, to be fair, but I think at some point, maybe I would guess halfway through the story, it's not that I rage quit, it's just that I hit a point where I had a really ridiculous death, and I'm like, you know what? I see where this is going. I'm just going to return it tomorrow.
It just wasn't worth the time.
I am not going to get any further enjoyment out of this, even from a novelty clunky perspective.
Right.
Yeah. Which is sad, because, I mean, it looked interesting from the original trailers, and I think the core gameplay could have been good, but I don't know. It just wound up in, like, development hell like Mighty Number 9.
Oh, we keep circling back to that. I don't know why we gotta open old wounds.
I know, right?
Although I will say Mighty Gunvolt Burst is really excellent, so if you ever want to play what Mighty Number 9 should have been, pick up Gunvolt Burst. It's like, I don't know, $8 on eShop or something, maybe $10. Very worth it.
I did try the demo, I think, a while back, so I might have to add that to my wish list again. Speaking of mixed crowdfunded games, did you play Yooka-Laylee?
Yes.
Okay, cool. I finally started playing that over the break because I grabbed the limited run version for Switch, and I have very mixed views, honestly. Like, I like most of it, but I do think the Kardos sections are clunky as hell, unfortunately, and I still cannot beat the final boss, which is pretty frustrating, so we'll see how that goes.
I didn't get super far in it. I think I've played 3 worlds. It's like when it first came out, I played a decent amount, and then it was just kind of one of those things where other games came out, and I haven't gotten back to finishing it. But yeah, what I played was very up and down. There was parts that I really liked, stuff that made me laugh, or stuff that I thought was cool gameplay-wise. And then there are other parts that were just, like, frustrating. Like, there was a boss I remember that, like, annoyed me pretty early on, and occasionally, like, some of the platforming sections or the jumps or whatever, like, I was just like, okay, this is annoying. I'm not landing, like, the way I feel I should be. So yeah, I'll get back to it. I enjoy the N64 collectathon type stuff. And, I don't regret backing it or anything. I think it's a very flawed game, but it's still a lot of fun, and I like investing in, those talented smaller teams that aren't as much a part of, like, the big corporate machine, like, making something that they clearly want to make, that they're passionate about. So yeah, I'll go back and beat it eventually, but it wasn't compelling enough that I really felt like, I can't put this controller down, I gotta get every last pagey. I didn't have that feeling of it, but I enjoyed what I played.
Yeah, there's a lot to like about it, but the not so great points are just inexcusable for me, which is a shame, because I do like the core game for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think aside from what's already been mentioned, there's a couple games coming out in the next 2 weeks that I'm super excited for. The first one actually comes out on Friday. It's Ace Combat 7. Now, I haven't really played any of the other ones, but I remember back in the day, on the GameCube, there was a flight action game that I got pretty decent at, had a lot of fun with, and so the series kind of flew under my radar, and then I saw a trailer for it recently. I'm like, this is what I need. Like, I didn't know it, but like, you know what? I haven't played something like this in a very long time, and I need to get on that. So yeah, I'll be chomping through that this weekend. But then the big one comes out shortly after Resident Evil 2, assuming it doesn't get delayed again, which hopefully this close to release shouldn't be a problem. But Kingdom Hearts 3 is finally coming out.
Yeah, and they said it went gold like a month ago, so if it gets delayed at this point, I will be very impressed.
Yeah, right.
But then again, they held like a 2-hour-long live stream event with a frickin' orchestra to announce the release date for Final Fantasy 15, and then 2 months later, whoops. So
I'll be getting that one as well, which I may dive into it right away, but I kind of feel like I should hold off a little bit and get through some of the older ones first. I've been trying to slowly work on the collection on PlayStation.
have you never played through most of them, or?
I beat Chain of Memories back on the Game Boy Advance. I beat the first Kingdom Hearts a while ago, but I am trying to get through it again. I'm like right at the final boss rush, and I just can't bring myself to sit down and finish it.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, I played a little bit of 2, but I didn't care too much for it. Maybe I was just being, stubborn about it, but it's something to do with, like, the Valor form mechanic that I didn't like at all. That, and it had a level based on the Lion King, and I didn't like that.
I didn't know you were anti-Lion King. I didn't know that was a thing people could be.
Sad.
I mean, I like the music, but that's about it.
I have not played any Kingdom Hearts games. I definitely respect it as an IP. I just can't tell if it's the kind of RPG I would enjoy.
Yeah, I played the demo for Dream Drop Distance, and other than that, my experience with Kingdom Heart is just like messing around with the controller while my buddy, who's a big fan, is like in the restroom or something. That's about it. I've never really played much of it.
The only other game I can think of is the Mario and Luigi Bowser's Inside Story remake. Came out recently, and that is one of the only 2 that I've played of the Mario and Luigi series, and I really enjoyed the original, so I'll probably pick that up whenever I finally get around to beating Superstar Saga for 3DS.
Yeah, so for other Nintendo stuff, we talked earlier about like the possibility of Metroid. Really holding out hope that comes out this year. That would be super excellent, and especially because I kind of doubt it'll actually be called Metroid Prime 4. That was kind of just a placeholder title, and the Prime storyline was really pretty well wrapped up for 3. Like, there were loose ends, but they weren't related to Metroid Prime itself. They were related to, what was his name, Silax, the other hunter?
Yeah.
So I'm kind of hoping it gets reintroduced with, like, a new name and a new direction, and that people are just going to be, like, surprised. Because this is a really good chance to reinvent Metroid, basically. Because, it's never been the most popular Nintendo series. It's always been, niche series with 1 or 2 million, like, really dedicated fans. And now for a long time, they've been, like, dragging it through the mud. Other M pretty much bombed, and Federation Force pretty much bombed. So it's like you have this brand new console that's really hitting it out of the park when it comes to, the sort of, like, nostalgia and, attracting 90s fans and stuff. So, yeah, I think this is a perfect time, and you have lots of like people who, aside from the people that are buying Switch because of nostalgia, you also have people that have never bought a console at all that are buying Switch for the first time. There's a lot of new gamers on Switch, so I think it's a great time to sort of reinvent the franchise, reintroduce it. I've talked in the past on the other podcast, so I think it would be cool to give the sort of 3D Metroid more of a survival horror feel to it.
Ooh.
And I'm also still kind of holding out hope that we get a traditional like Metroid 5, right? A follow up to Fusion, the sort of Project Dread that was canceled or whatever. And there were rumblings a little while back that they were in the process of I think it was just sort of like the early stages of brainstorming the next 2D Metroid. So I don't know for sure if we'll get either. I think Prime 4 or whatever it's called is a decent chance, but it would honestly just like make my year if they just surprised us with a 2D Metroid as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so that's a big one for me. And then the other thing is sort of tangentially connected to that is Retro Studios has been quietly working on something for like 4 or 5 years now. And we heard last year about that rumored like Star Fox like racing / combat game.
Oh yeah.
So I hope that's real and still in development and coming out in 2019. Because I adore Mario Kart, but it's also the same Mario Kart I played last generation too, and I don't know if they're planning to do a new Mario Kart on Switch or not. Maybe. But, you know, if they could mix it up with something a little more fresh like this Star Fox Racing, I think that would be a pretty sweet addition to the Switch lineup.
That'd be interesting.
Well, the only other games I can think of right now that I'm excited for are Sekiro, which I think comes out, either next month or in March. I don't remember which one off the top of my head.
I heard that has a pause button.
Yeah, I'm just like, what the hell? This isn't...
Filthy fucking casuals.
Right? So that Code Vein, last I heard, is still supposed to come out this year. And then, I believe I read somewhere Shovel Knight King of Cards is supposed to come out in, like, April, maybe?
Okay. I don't know the month off the top of my head, but I think it's definitely, like, early this year.
I've been anxiously awaiting that for quite a while as well.
That is such a long window of content for, like, one 2D platformer. Because the original game came out in, 2014?
Something like that, yeah. I always forget how old it is. Like, it doesn't seem like it's been that long.
Right?
I think part of that's just because they keep updating and adding new content, so it's like there's always a new Shovel Knight thing to do, so...
Well, very true.
Yeah. I wonder what they'll do after that, whether Shovel Knight 2 or something else entirely.
Well, they took that fan poll a while ago where they asked fans, would you want to see us do, like, a 32-bit Shovel Knight, a 64-bit Shovel Knight, a Metroidvania, or there's like 5 options. I think one of them was an RPG. So I think a 16-bit Shovel Knight sequel took first place, and a Metroidvania took second place from the poll. But obviously, you know, that's only so much influence. It's not like they're at the whim of whatever the fans say, so...
Yeah, much like the Smash poll way back when.
Yeah, for sure. But I'd be very interested to see them try their hands at a Metroidvania, but if they feel like they need to sort of build up to that first with like a 16-bit Shovel Knight sequel, I'm absolutely down with that.
Mm-hmm.
We talked a lot about things that we're all excited for, but if we can shift gears slightly and talk about something I don't think anyone's excited for.
Go on.
The Sonic the Hedgehog movie.
Oh, boy.
I'm excited for it in like I'm gonna rip this movie apart kind of way, you know, like it's gonna be a movie where me and my friends get drunk and just like make fun of it and yell shit at the TV. It's gonna be that kind of movie.
Yeah, but I still can't get over those posters we saw.
Those legs.
Like, I don't want to see any more. I will go see it because I have to.
It is ordained.
Yep. Yeah, I'll definitely go to the draft house so I can wash the pain away with a beer or two.
See, here's the thing. You guys have all these nice theaters.
Oh, I don't.
Well, okay, Will does.
If I went to Chicago, I guess.
I don't live in Kansas City proper, but close enough that they're there, yeah.
Well, my point being is that I have, like, the basic, we got popcorn type of theater.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna have to get drunk beforehand.
Yeah. My more local theater does now serve overpriced booze, but
Steven, all you gotta do is sneak a flask in. Come on, rookie.
Yeah, I got plenty of alcohol. I could do that.
Which, I don't know if you've seen, but if you go on the Rooster Teeth store, they actually sell Crow's flask from Ruby. You can get a replica
I did
of
see
it.
that. I almost got that for you, actually.
Really? You're the second person to tell me that, and I think all my friends think I'm an alcoholic. See, here's the thing. I thought about buying it for myself, but I actually don't drink that much. So I was like, the nerd part of me is like, hell yeah, I want Uncle Crow's flask. And then the practical part of me is like, I'm never going to use a fucking flask. I'm not spending money on this. But if someone were to give it to me as a gift, I would absolutely adore it. I just, like, I can't justify spending my money on something that's, like, mostly just for the lols, you know?
Yeah. A friend of mine did buy me, it was a canteen shaped as the old Legend of Zelda NES gold cartridge.
Oh, I've seen that.
But it's not super functional, and so would be very impractical as a flask, as hilarious as that would be. It's fun to have around as a collector's item.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I don't know if I'll spend money to see it in theaters. I guess it depends on how many of my friends want to go. But at some point, I'll definitely give it the MST3K treatment.
It's gonna suck.
I will say, in terms of movies I'm looking forward to, though, the Avengers Endgame. Like, that was a hell of a cliffhanger they left us on, so that's coming up pretty soon here, too. And from what I understand, the trailers only show off stuff from, like, the first 20 or 30 minutes in the movie, which is a nice change of pace, because Marvel likes to give away, like, the whole damn movie in their trailers sometimes, so...
True.
I'll probably hold off on seeing that because I haven't seen Infinity War yet.
It's like out on Blu-ray though, or actually, is it? It might be on Netflix too by now.
It is, yeah. My dad just watched it on Netflix. And we also got the Spider-Man Far From Home trailer this week, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah, it looked alright.
Well, my problem with Infinity War is like that I haven't seen a lot of the Marvel movies like prior to that, like Doctor Strange and Thor, all that stuff. So I'm like, I was told I need to watch those first, and I'm just like, I just don't feel like it right now.
You definitely should. It's one of those things where, like, the writers definitely assume you're coming into it with a fair amount of knowledge. Like, I saw one, like, critical review of it that, like, trashed it, and they're like, all these characters just show up and start doing things without any explanation of their backstory. It's like, yeah, because they all have 3 fucking movies about their backstory. So, but yeah, the writers definitely do assume that you already know who these characters are and roughly what their goals and motivations are. So it's just like, oh, here's a ship full of superheroes.
Yep.
We're not going to give you much exposition. They're under attack. Jump in, like watch the thing. So
now I am excited for Captain Marvel.
Yeah, that looks okay. I've only watched the one trailer for it. I don't have any strong opinions yet, just because I've never really read any Captain Marvel like comics. I think I saw like a really old movie of it back in the day, and I don't even think it was like this same character. It was like a different Captain Marvel. So yeah, I'm pretty out of the loop, which is both a blessing and a curse. Because, if you're not super familiar with the source material, you can go into it with a fresh mind and not just be, like, bitterly comparing it to the comic and being like, wow, that's not canon, they changed that thing. But at the same time, if you actually do have all that background, then you're going to catch more, Easter eggs and references and stuff, so.
That may be why I enjoyed the first Ant-Man fairly well, while that was kind of mixed for others, because I knew nothing about that comic.
Yeah, and it was just like a fun,
it.
silly heist movie if you go into it, not having a whole lot of background.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. My biggest take on Captain Marvel is I am completely on board with Brie Larson playing Samus.
Yes.
Yes, I'd be down for that. Sorry, Ronda Rousey. But that's okay. She's already landing another role. Like, she said she wanted to be Samus a while back, but word on the street is that she is Sonya Blade in Mortal Kombat 11.
Yeah, I did hear that as well.
That's something.
Speaking of which, isn't there I don't know if it's this week or next week, but I think MK11 is supposed to have its big reveal.
Yeah, I think it's this Friday, because she, like, posted a picture of herself, like, and said something about, like, see you Friday, so.
I will have to keep an eye out for that, then.
Smash is the only fighting game I am halfway decent at, so we'll see.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. I grew up playing Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter, but that was, like when I was 10 and under, and then I played a little bit of, like, Alpha 2 after that for Street Fighter, but I really haven't played Mortal Kombat since the early 90s, so.
I've considered picking up Dragon Ball FighterZ for Switch every now and then, because I watched my previous roommate play it on PS4 a lot, and it looked pretty cool, gameplay and plot-wise.
Yeah, I still might pick it up eventually, and I really should, because otherwise I'm a hypocrite, because I was, like, signing petitions and tweeting at Bandai Namco and stuff about it. But, like, it came out more or less around the same time as My Hero Academia Wants Justice, and I don't play that many fighting games in the first place, so it's like, I can't justify buying 2 weeaboo fighting games, like, and then buying Smash right after them. Like, I'm not going to have time to play all 3 of these, and I don't have the money to spend on them, so.
Exactly.
But it's one I might pick up, especially if Bandai puts it on sale in a little bit, and, if I'm burned out on My Hero. And also, they're different enough, because one's a 2D fighter and one's a 3D fighter, so.
Yeah, I got that. That was the reason I finally picked up Mario Rabbids recently, because it's probably not anymore, but the Gold Edition, which is normally $80 on the eShop with all DLC and everything, was down to like $26 for a few days.
Yeah, that's a crazy good deal.
I could not pass that up.
It's a very good game. I actually haven't beat it. I got to the 4th world out of 4 worlds, not counting DLC. And then it was another thing where, like, some other more important game dropped, and then, yeah. And the other thing, I was playing it through with a roommate who is now a former roommate, so it's like, it's been kind of hard to get back into it, because, we were having fun just playing together and kind of strategizing together on what to do, but I definitely have to get back to it, because it was pretty sweet. I mean, it's just like, it's G-rated XCOM or whatever, but it had a ton of personality to it, and, like, it was the way it's organized, the UI and, like, your options and stuff, it's simple, but then you can do complex things with those simple commands, so.
It was also really interesting to hear a Grant Kirkhope score with a Mario game.
Yeah.
Like, that's just, especially since I was playing ukulele around the same time.
You're just like Kirkhope from every direction, man.
Yeah, no complaints there.
Well, I guess, does anyone else have any gaming-related things in 2019, or are we about done? Or
The big thing for me is Prime 4, assuming it comes out this year, but otherwise, most of the stuff I'm interested in is fairly early, so yeah.
Yeah, the one other thing I would say I'm looking forward to a lot is, and we know nothing about it, but the core RPG Pokemon game that Junichi Masuda promised when he announced the Let's Go games. So I'm particularly interested to see like how much of it stays true to the core formula versus how much is borrowed from Let's Go. Because I would hope it leaves all of the Pokemon Go mechanics out. You know, I think keep that in Let's Go. That's fine. Keep it in its own little playpen, and that's great. But I do hope it brings some of the other innovations over, like being able to see Pokemon in the overworld, for example, is huge. It's a game changer. It makes it so much more immersive, and I think that would be an awesome addition to like the core formula. So I'm interested to see what elements they decide to bring in from other games, or what new elements they decide to interject. It's going to be interesting because this will be the first sort of, assuming it's Gen 8, you know, it'll be kind of the first major new entry on Switch. So I think it'll be sort of making a statement then from Game Freak. And also, as we saw with like you know, from X and Y to Sun and Moon, when they release a new Pokemon game on a new console, like they always, you know, look decent. They do what they can with the graphics, but over the course of a hardware's life, Game Freak gets a lot better at figuring out the ins and outs of developing for it, and they can make, you know, bigger, better looking games. So I'll be interested to see if they, you know, stick to the same sort of aesthetic as they have in Let's Go and just sort of improve on it, or if they try to go for something new and really push the Switch hardware. It'll be interesting to see.
Going off of that point of improving hardware, Game Freak, if you do make a Let's Go sequel, for the love of God, fix the motion controls.
Yeah, just make them optional. Like, that's all you gotta freaking do. Just make them optional. Like, honestly.
Or, that too.
Yeah, that's like the biggest complaint I have about them. But yeah, I'm really hoping we do get a Let's Go sequel because I really want to go to Johto.
Yeah, I'm just sitting here waiting to see how they're going to mess up the core series this time. But
Steven's over there, all bitter.
No, seriously, like I will be waiting for this, you know, with open arms, like waiting to get back into it. But just based on past experience, like it's probably not going to happen. But I am optimistic that at some point I will get the Pokemon game for me.
Yeah, that's all I had.
Yeah, I think I'm good.
Well, I was going to say, not to get like too personal or anything, but one of the big things for me in 2019 is making this a year of change. And so, and I'm not going to get like super into it because I could write a book, but I think anyone on the staff could tell you that like I have had a lot of like mental health issues over the past couple years. And you know what? This is the year I kick that in the ass.
It's a good positive mentality to have.
Yeah.
And I've been working on making a lot of positive changes in how I eat and what I do, and so I'm really looking forward to seeing how all that hard work pays off.
Yeah, there's hoping it works out for the best. That's, like I said, that's a good mentality to have. You know, it's easy to sort of just get complacent, or like when things are bad, to just kind of feel like, well, you know, this is life now. This is the way it is. But you know, if you can take even small steps to make positive change, you should always strive for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that goes for anyone out there who may be suffering from similar issues. Like, it's hard. Like, I know I've been there, but, you know, it is possible to, you know, with work, you know, get over it and, you know, live life to your fullest.
I feel you there. I mean, my life has definitely improved drastically in a lot of ways over the last couple of years, but there are definitely things I would love to improve on, similar to what you mentioned. So, I feel you.
Yeah, and it really helps that I have a great group of people here on staff to have my back whenever I have bad days, and, you know, I love you guys.
Thank God for internet friends.
Yay!
Oh, yeah.
And for Jim Sterling.
Yes, Jim fucking Sterling's son.
Well, I guess with that we can wrap it up. So this has been, I guess, episode 3 of Gamnesia After Dark. Thanks to Ben and Will for being here and joining me for this episode.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thank you.
This one I was looking forward to quite a bit because I never get to talk to you guys as much as I want to, and so just to have I guess going on almost 2 hours now and just sitting and chatting, it's been absolutely great.
Picking each other's brains.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
But I guess with that, if you want to follow any of us on social media, I guess I can be found at Red Rollins Yum on Twitter.
For me, I'm on Twitter at Erimgard, ERIMGARD. And then, of course, just if you want to see all the drivel I write a lot of stuff at Gamnesia.com. I think, we all contribute there. And we have another podcast there, too, which is Switched On. So that's if you want to podcast that specializes in, Nintendo stuff. We go over the news every... well, I'd say week, but it's never weekly. We never keep to that schedule, so it's more like every 2 to 3 weeks, depending on how much Nintendo news there is. And then we always do kind of have like a discussion segment afterwards. So for the most recent episode, we talked about gaming highlights of 2018 and what we're looking forward to in 2019. So,
and you can find me on Twitter at awk043. That's AWK043. As far as plugs, I'm usually pretty behind the scenes on the site, but I did recently write an op-ed about Celeste, so that makes all three of us who have now written about the game at some point.
And you should definitely go read all 3 of our articles, and then buy Celeste, and then buy it again.
The limited run version was tempting, for sure.
Oh yeah, I know. I had to hide my wallet.
Yeah.
From yourself?
Yeah, can't do it. But yeah, so thank you guys for listening to us ramble on. If you have any suggestions about things we could cover in future episodes, or if you just want to leave feedback on things you like, things you don't like, feel free to leave them in the comments or reach out to me somewhere where I'll see it, and we can certainly take those into consideration. So I guess until next time, whenever that may be, goodbye.
Bye, everybody.
See ya.